you guys for being flexible and adjusting on our media time from 1 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Let's get it rolling.
How good does it feel to hit the practice field coming off a win with a little bit of momentum, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, the guys, it was good for the guys to get a little break there too on Saturday, to get some extra rest time coming off the short week and, the travel situation that we had within the first couple weeks. So it was really good for the team to get some rest on Saturday. And it was awesome to get back in here yesterday and have some meetings, go through the game film. Obviously, even with a victory, there's plenty of areas where we can continue to grow, and we're excited to do that. And the guys showed it yesterday. It was fun to get on the field yesterday afternoon. They had a little bit more energy than this Monday, the week before, understandably.
We've seen Scott obviously used on offense. Talking with Frank before the season, he said that Herbert Gums is one of the most athletic guys he's ever coached that position. With what you can tell us, the evolution of using Herb Gums on offense and at fullback.
Well, it started all the way back in the springtime, and the first rep he had, I think it was a very scary experience for the corner on the edge when the down blocks came and Herb came screaming off the edge. And when you go back and watch Herbie play some tailback in high school, he was a little bit lighter then, but he still got a little bit of twitch, and he's fast-footed and all those things. He did a really nice job actually following the puller up behind off Scott's block up into the hole there. I think just from the standpoint of a team effort, being able to get some guys on defense to help jump in there on some short yardage situations is always fun.
He came to the sideline, he was smiling. Like, what does stuff like that do to just the spirit of a player or a team by sprinkling that stuff in? Yeah,
that's what I said. It's the team effort, working together as a team and being able to use guys just like on special teams when we all come together. I think our team, enjoys those opportunities, those situations. Typically the whole sideline gets pretty excited when that, whether it's in practice or not, when that group gets called.
What were you most pleased with as far as an area that you thought improved from week 1 to week 2? If I said pick one thing, what would you say most impressed you?
You know what, the guys, number one, they practice throughout the course of the week with and they handled the process with a sense of urgency. And the guys trusted it when we got in the game. So we needed to grow off from coming off of week number 1. And we got stronger as the game went. We got stronger in the second quarter. We got stronger in the third quarter. Third quarter is probably, one of our better quarters there. Now, obviously, as we get to get other guys in the game and stuff, we got to be able to finish a little bit better than what we did there. But I was really proud of how, the offense handled all those different fronts and pressures that we were seeing. If you go back and watch the film, was it blocked up perfectly? No, it's hard to handle all that movement, but we were able to identify up front, especially protection-wise. I thought the offensive line and the tailbacks, George and Ashton, did a really good job picking up with the O-line. And again, a very difficult scheme that has produced a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So we are excited about that. We had on defense, we took on a lot of play action passes, and the secondary did a really good job. The corners did a real good job. They went right at Tubes right out of the gate, and he handled it. Obviously, it helps when George wins his one-on-one right out of the gates in the first play of the game and got that sack. But I was really excited to see how we improved with our pre-snap communication, getting in rhythm, playing on defense, and then playing with better eye control to be able to fend off some of the play action passes.
J.L. Skinner's mom made it clear on Twitter that he wasn't out for disciplinary reasons. So is there an update on our timeline on when he might be back?
We don't talk about injuries.
Okay.
But it was not disciplinary reasons. He didn't do anything bad.
When you went back and watched the film, how did you evaluate how Hank played?
Yeah, so again, he got stronger as the game went. The best thing about it is, again, with the looks that we were getting from that particular defense, he took what the defense gave him. And again, we're proud of the way the guys protected for him. Obviously, there's always room to grow in certain scenarios, but the first play to Latrell, we practiced that play on literally that spot of the field, and he did it just like he did in practice. He went through his progression, got the same coverage as we got in practice. He connected with Latrell, and he did the rest. And so that's just one example. Obviously, there's more examples of where he did things well, but the number one thing is, how do we keep growing off of this? How do we keep getting ourselves in rhythm with our wide receiver group, with our tight ends, finding the tailbacks and using the tailbacks, you know, as check downs when need be.
In terms of getting the offense off to a faster start, you got a couple more 3 and outs to start the game. I mean, how do you? Is there anything the same you've seen in both games, or was it just a different kind of game, or how do you get going a little faster maybe?
Yeah, it's a goal in all 3 phases to start fast. On offense, we did not start that fast. Again, we got stronger as the game went. So I think through 2 games now, obviously, we have a good idea of our personnel and what we can do. You know, the thing about it is now is being able to build off of that, be able to personnel certain things, be able to put guys in certain positions of things that they do well, from whether it's a tailback, a wide receiver position, a tight end position, and being able to be more strategic with that so that we can have guys in the right place to start faster than what we did.
Scott Matlock's kind of hit that territory where he can have a really good game, and we almost don't even talk about it. How good was he against New Mexico?
Yeah, he did a really good job. I mean, to be honest with you, the whole defensive front did a really good job. But we didn't give up very many rushing yards, and we're going to have a huge challenge this week. This team runs the ball really well. They run about, much like New Mexico, you know, they're going to hit about every run scheme on the board. So it's going to be a huge week of run fits, but obviously this team can do it through the air as well. So Scotty played really well last week. Again, in the run game, man, he created pressure on the quarterback. I mean, he's the one that got the sack that knocked their offense back, and then obviously in the next play we were able to block the punt. So it put their punt team obviously in a situation that allowed us to be more aggressive, and we were able to capitalize, which again, that's going into that drive right there. James had an unbelievable punt coming off of the series before. The defense capitalizes. Our punt return team goes out there and blocks. That's a great example of team defense, and all of us are teamwork all together, the team working together in all 3 phases.
How impressive is his athleticism, versatility? I mean, we saw him pressure the quarterback. There's some plays where he's moving down the line of scrimmage to make some plays too.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's impressive, and he knows it. He's even got room to grow and keep getting better. But he's very disruptive. And, you know, not only how hard does he play, but he doesn't like coming out. I mean, he's in there all the time. And that's a cool deal. And he knows, you know, what he does on offense, too. Anytime we get in certain situations, he's the first one off the bench because he knows his number might get called, and he's bringing Herbie with him down the other sideline. So we're excited about the start that Scott is off to, and we just look forward to him continuing to grow as well as the rest of the front.
What's your evaluation on how the receivers have done the first couple weeks in terms of, you know, just getting separation?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's not it's a couple different deals. We can create more separations by some of the things we do in the pre-snap, and we've definitely talked about that. And then, you know, how we accelerate off the ball and how we're reading coverages, and if routes adjust and all those things have something to do with it as well. And that is, you know, obviously an area of emphasis is to create space within the passing game, and making sure that we are, you know, getting our routes to the proper landmarks and staying on schedule with the quarterback and the timing of the offense.
Did you guys see something, I mean, at halftime or have any discussions? It seemed like the second half there were a lot more shifts and motions and, you know, pre-snap things as far as your offense.
You know what, I mean, we discussed a lot of things at halftime, and we were able to come out, and that was our most productive quarter right there. I think that we got to a few things there in the second half that maybe we could have gotten to obviously earlier. But the things that we were able to identify at halftime were exactly what we had talked about throughout the course of the week, and we had a plan for some things that we could go to if certain things weren't working, and obviously we got to those, and again, we probably could have got to them quicker.
Describe what you think we're going to see out of UT Martin. What do they do? What is their scheme coming in here? And is there anybody style-wise that we play that they would?
From an offensive standpoint, I'm assuming you're answering?
Both.
Both. So offensively, I mean, they're probably closest to an opponent we would play. I would say probably Utah State. They're a spread team that will use the whole field, and they have an explosive pass game and run game. I mean, their stats are the best in their conference on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. They got a quarterback who can make every throw on the field, and he is a run fit number as well. Like I said already, from a run game standpoint, they're going to run almost every run scheme there is, and so we've got to have a great a great week of practice understanding our fits. It's not triple option, but when you're dealing with a quarterback run fit number and a quarterback that has wide receivers that are vertical threats and routes that create conflicts within run fits, and you got to do a really good job, much like you do in the triple option, with making sure that we're doing our job, playing with great eye control, and then there's going to be some tackles in space that are going to need to get made. Defensively, a three-man front that's going to move around. They play a lot of cover four. They've got a good secondary, and they got some guys up front that have shown to create havoc, with some interior defensive linemen in their first couple games.
Andy, I think you guys are one of like 10 teams that had to play 2 road games to start the season. How eager are you guys just to, you're going to get to make that up now and have some home games coming up here in this nice stretch here? How exciting is it to have some home games now? Yeah,
I mean, the energy again was high. BJ, yesterday, I think the guys needed the break on Saturday. I know they did. You don't control all that stuff, how the schedule works. You play a late game and then you got a short week the next week, all those things. You just prepare for it in the off season. And we had a stretch in camp, in fall camp, where we simulated a 3-day run that we went on that was going to be very difficult and challenging to the team, because we knew that we were going to have this turnaround of a short week, getting home late from our first game and going into the second game. So the most important thing about it is that I know the guys, I know the team, I know the program's excited to open up here, for Bronco Nation, and have a day game here on Saturday and get Albertson Stadium going.
What do you make of what the marketing department, everyone's doing in terms of some of the new things they're trying to do? They're going to raise a flag before the game now, and they got the one new scoreboard's in, and the fan experience, I guess, as Jeremiah calls it. What do you make of just the game day experience and what they're trying to do here?
Well, I think that's a huge part of college athletics, whether it's college football or any sporting event here. I mean, that's what makes college sports. It's the camaraderie, it's the environment, it's the fan base and what they bring to it. Obviously, it's the entertainment and the fun that the university and the program bring to the campus, and obviously into whatever venue, the stadium, the arena, whatever that looks like. That's what makes college athletics. It's a student body, that has been back in school now for a couple weeks, and now they have the opportunity to come watch the Broncos play here at home in Albertson Stadium. And I think that's a special thing, and not only because of the challenge we have this week with our opponent, but even more so, it's our first home game, and making sure that we stay locked in this week as a team, and we handle our preparation so that we can be our best, because we're going to need to be.
Andy, how much are you involved in some of that stuff that they want to do and push forward with it at Albertson Stadium to enhance game day?
In the off season, not now, it's football season now, but in the off season, yeah, it's year round. I mean, the amount of conversations, preparations, brainstorming ideas, and then putting things into play that goes on. I mean, it's a year round process to get these things worked through, whether it's some of the upgrades to the stadium, whether it's some of the things that go on within the game day experience. This isn't something that just happens, the week of the game. This is months and months of preparation, and so there's a lot of people involved. We're very fortunate. We're excited about the new improvements and the things and the creativity that obviously our leadership and Jeremiah and our staff are bringing to our game day experience.
When you have those meetings, what's important to you? I mean, what do you talk about? What do you push? What's your priorities?
For me, when it comes to the game day experience, number one is creating an atmosphere of energy. Like, this is one of the best venues in America to be able to play college football in. Now, obviously, that has a lot to do with us. They're without the team, without the football, and that is the most important thing to me, Mike, because no one's in Albertson Stadium if it isn't for the football team, right? So that is the most important thing to me, but creating an atmosphere where there's a ton of excitement, a ton of energy, that's what Broncos Stadium, that's what Albertson Stadium has been about, traditionally in the past. And so, again, very excited about what they're doing there, but that's all off-season stuff. Now we're locked in on football. We got people to handle all that stuff, and they do a really good job with it.
Is there any pressure or somewhat good pressure to show up against a lesser team on paper this weekend in front of the home crowd?
I mean, here's the bottom line when it comes to that, okay? This team is talented. They got guys just like we got guys. They got guys that will play in the NFL on this team. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it is about our preparation and our process and making sure that we understand the things that we need to do in this game to be our very best.
When you see some of the other scores around the league, is that easy to show your guys? You know, you can never kind of.
Every game, we know what it is in college football these days. I mean, just from last weekend, we saw a bunch of things happen. And so the thing about it is we work all year round from January to now, and to take advantage and maximize every opportunity you get, every week of preparation to keep growing as individuals, as groups, is whatever 3 phases of the game, and collectively as a team. I mean, we need every opportunity we can get. We need every practice opportunity we can get to keep growing, and let alone have the challenges we're going to have this week with the team that we're facing.
Andy, with Caleb, you go back and look at the replay. It didn't look super egregious, but he didn't. I don't know if he played after he picked up that personal foul. So, what happened with Caleb there?
Yeah, the referee said that he taunted the other player.
Was it a decision to not play in the rest of the game, I guess?
No, he actually had something come up.
Oh.
He was going to play, and something come up from all the running he was doing on putting all that. Yeah, I don't think there's nothing there.
Okay.
Andy, what about the production of getting a
We
linebacker?
keep Caleb in the
between
game as
DJ
much as we can.
I get
He's
you.
the best corner.
Okay.
I don't know why we take him out.
The production of linebacker between DJ
Yeah.
and Zeke, and on the outside, I think we're somewhat surprised by it. On the inside, I'm assuming this is what you expected, or are they playing better than you thought?
You know what, Mike? Just the body of work all the way through. Those guys have been extremely consistent, and those guys have been here, Mike, for a long time now. Like, those guys, their experience and how they prepare and what they put into it, you should see how much they prepare. I mean, they know the plan. They know it like the coaches do. And it's really fun to see when you have older guys that have learned, because trust me, they weren't that when they first got here, when they were freshmen. But that's the cool part about this game, is being able to see guys develop and grow and come into their own. And now obviously they're deserving of how they're playing right now. And not only them, but bringing some of the younger guys along with them and developing them. That's the plan at every position, Mike. That's the plan at the D-line. That's the plan in the secondary. That's the plan at the O-line. Some of the things going on even on the O-line behind the scenes right now, we're really excited about with some of the some of the younger guys that are on our team and how they're developing and coming along.
Speaking of individual growth and younger guys developing, through 2 games, Genty is the leading receiver. And then last week he had 6 yards to carry. How much more involved in the offense can he be, and how potent can he be?
Yeah, but he's showed. We've talked about it all the way, since we were able to see him play in the spring. And not only his his skill set, but how smart of a player he is. You gotta be able to handle a lot of different things just besides the X's and O's to play as a freshman. There's a lot that goes into it. We're excited about what he's done so far, but trust me, there's a lot of things that just to the normal person watching film, we got to get a lot better at. And we've said all along that we're excited, that we have a guy to be able to complement George and what George is capable of doing.
I mean, how promising is that 1-2 punch? I mean, I know that you guys could have thought very highly of Genty coming out of fall camp, but the fact that he's producing and being a legitimate 2 in that 1-2 has to be impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want, right? You always want 2 running backs. You got to have 2 running backs. And then guess what? We got a 3rd guy too. And guess what? We got a 4th guy that maybe everyone doesn't get to see, but is working behind the scenes and doing a really good job too, that we're really excited about. And I will say this, not only did the offensive line get stronger as the game went on last week, but I think everybody saw how those 2 backs were running the ball and what that does to, an opposing team.
How was Rodney Robinson played through 2 games?
He's been good. The first game we were in a lot of base personnel. So, he didn't play as much in the first game. In this last game, he did some really good things. Again, much like one of our other players, he came out there a little bit earlier than we wanted him to, just because he was working through something. But he's played well. He did a great job last week with all the communication that goes into fitting the triple option and all the different fits, and then all the play actions we were getting off of those looks too. So from Rodney's experience that he's had in the first 2 games, the things that we would hope is that he would just continue to keep learning and growing, especially when you're a safety back there and all the communication that goes into it. He's just got to keep growing in that area. But we're, from the standpoint of when we moved him to field safety, he's shown to be a lot more comfortable at that position and just needs to keep on growing.
We saw Hank hit on some early deep shots to Cole Wright and Billy, but then there really wasn't another one the rest of the game. What's it going to take for the passing game to become, you know, consistent for 4 quarters?
Yeah, I think that has a big part to what we were talking about earlier, is just making sure that we have the right personnel in the right positions for certain concepts, certain plays, you know, and then through the course of the week of building in that timing within that personnel, this consistency of who he's making these throws to throughout the course of the week, and obviously just being able to execute that in the game because we practice it with certain looks, certain personnel.
Kaniho obviously has gotten some more playing time in the last couple of games. How do you think he's played?
Yeah, I mean, the last team went right at him too, you know, and he did. I thought he played really well the other night. There's a lot of space out there, given the nature of the team we were playing against and having to get some numbers in the box to handle the triple option. And I was really proud, you know, of the way he played, how persistent he was. And then too, like, he made some nice plays in the run game too on some crack replaces and some things like that. Again, a guy stepping up with Markel going down here for a little bit, and then you know, even Tyreek LaBeouf, and he jumped in there and played a fair amount too in this last game. And so really just continuing to grow those guys at that position. JC, just keep bringing JC along. I know he gave up a deep ball, but let me tell you something. JC's covered and done a really nice job throughout the course of fall camp and the first couple games so far. So we just got to keep growing and get better at that position. And again, we're excited about how they handled themselves the other night with all the play actions they were taking on.
I think it was after the second scrimmage, you brought up Cole Wright's name because he made a big play in that scrimmage. And honestly, we don't know a ton about Cole. What can you tell us about him? And he obviously got an opportunity, and he took advantage of it in Albuquerque.
Yeah, I mean, Cole's been, whether it's on special teams, you know, where he's getting more involved, his role's increasing. Why is his role increasing? Because he's accountable. You know what you're going to get from him. You know what you're going to get when he goes in there, whether it's on special teams, whatever position or role he has there, or when he goes in at wide receivers. Again, there's an example of being able to identify some things that Cole can do very well to help the team. And now it's just about a matter of, personnel and some things within our game plan to be able to continue to, not only for him to grow his role, but others too.
When you call a player accountable, Andy, like how long do you have to prove that, you know, to earn that title, I guess, from you?
I mean, that's a matter of just being consistent day in and day out. Like, no different than, you know, some of the other guys that, for example, it's Zeke and DJ have been this way for a while. It just didn't start this season. You know, Scott, we're going on the last 2 years of vineyard. I mean, Scott's consistent. He does things well. You know what you're going to get from George every day. Okay, you know what you're going to get from Davis, from Steph, and so on. So it's just a matter of practicing a certain way and handling your preparation so you can practice a certain way, and then Jay, that usually leads to guys being able to do it in the game. If you can do it consistently in practice, and those results usually happen.
I know you take 6 sacks and 12 tackles for loss, whatever, every game. I mean, that might be a little higher than the average ends up being. But is that more of what you think this D line can do than what we saw in the first game, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, in the first game, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of drop back pass. There was a lot of play action, you know, and that's going to be something that's consistent. So with the play action pass comes more than 6-man protections and things like that. So it's how do we move forward and how do we adjust? How do we create? Because at the end of the day, in the passing game, we got to create pressure, and that is always a huge to do of depending on the offense we're facing. How do you create pressure on the quarterback?
Going back to special teams and underclassmen, Andrew Simpson, he made that big punt block. How important is it for players, especially when they're starting out, to buy into special teams early?
It's huge because that's where a lot of guys are. I mean, we got Cole going because Cole is doing a good job on special teams. All right, if you can do it on special teams and you can do it all the time, you know, and he shows his ability on special teams, his explosiveness, and let's get him going on offense. Let's get him going on defense. If they can consistently do it on special teams, you know what Drew is. You know, in practice he's blocked a few, and it started in the spring when he was on the scout team, not on the first or second punt return team. Drew was on the scout team giving our regular punt team havoc, and so that's how Drew got a shot to be on our punt return team, and obviously we saw that unfolded the other night.
with James Ferguson Reynolds obviously playing much better in the second game. What was different for him, or just the first game jitters out of the way, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know what, this is his, we learned a lot. I learned a lot, he learned a lot. There's a lot of guys that learned a lot from the first game, and that's what we just want to see. We want to see growth from one opportunity to the next, and James is a huge example. I mean, 46-yard net is a pretty big deal. And on top of that, the placement of some of the punts that we had there, you know, inside the 20 or even tighter in there, you know, inside the 5.
You know, let me ask you briefly about George Tarlas after the game, but what do you think of his performance? And I mean, that's quite a bit of production, or as much as production you guys got out of a D end in a while here. I mean, that was a pretty impressive performance, it seems.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for George is just him continuing to learn and grow on how it is to play the edge position, you know, the different things that we do here at that position. And he's putting in the effort. Obviously, it's a different scheme. It's fundamentally and technically, it's different than what he's been used to. And the more and more that he gets reps and he gets better at these things, he's going to put himself in position to make a lot of plays. So it was cool to see, because when you're playing against a team that runs a triple option like that, you got to be really on with what you're doing from play to play and handling your responsibility, and especially on the edge against a triple option team, it comes down to their techniques. And he did a pretty good job last week with handling all his different responsibilities, how we were changing things up on the edge for the quarterback read plays and stuff like that. And you know what, sometimes his technique, you know, at his position would change with emotion, and being able to handle that and trusting in the fact that, no, he's going to get this done because we're building his level of discipline and being able to execute certain things.
What's your Friday night routine for home games this year?
Same as it was last year.
Which is, I mean, dinners, movies. I mean, what do you guys can you kind of talk through?
So we have our meetings here. We have chapel here for those who would like to attend chapel. We have our Friday night meetings just like we do on the road. We have dinner just like we do on the road, and then the team goes to the hotel, same as on the road. And then when they get to the hotel, much like on the road, they get an hour of time to visit with their families, the parents, the friends, whoever it may be that's coming into town to visit and watch them play. They get a chance to visit with them, and then we finish off with one last team event just before bedtime there in curfew.
Ask you a little bit about Tubes after the game or whatnot. What is it about him that he just seems to squeeze all the juice from the fruit, if you will? I mean,
I think you guys help with it. You guys put the chip on his shoulder. Like, I mean, you guys help with like the motivation because he's so. I mean, the guy is so on point with everything he does, and again, I think he's that guy. He's the classic Boise State Bronco that we've all come to know and love of who he is as a person. He is that guy that everyone doesn't think that, you know, he's good enough, fast enough, whatever. He's definitely all those things. He's smart enough, and he's a really good teammate on top of that. And so those are all the things that make Alex Tubner. And I'm just so proud of him, how he stays the course and how he's persevered through everything throughout his time here and generated his opportunities.